I'm excited about this because it's something totally different for us, totally different for UAP Files, totally different for Tom Vernon UAP. We've done nothing like this before. It's all been Zoom. It's all been Zoom and chatting in Discord and talking to people in the DMs. And this is physically going there to an event. So contact UFO Congress. Let me get this right. Contact International UFO Congress. Is that right?
That's right.
So what's the plan, man? What are you doing?
Well, at the moment, I think going with the flow and winging it is probably. Yeah, I mean, you know me well enough that that's kind of how I get through life anyway. But I we have in the last year done some amazing stuff. I'm still kind of a bit dazed about being able to interview all these people that I'd previously been watching on YouTube with you and yeah, so we saw the contact at the desert, and we had Jess and Dorje and that, and then Aslan's been off at a press conference, and I think it's my turn now. So we've been invited to contact Congress UFO. I've probably got that order mixed up, and it's going to be great. It's a big multi-day event in Madrid, and my favorite thing about it, well, my least favorite thing is the fact that my Spanish isn't very good. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works out. But just about everybody there is people that aren't like, as much as I love your Lou Elizondos and your Jim Semivans and all of these legends that we hear and see regularly, none of these people have kind of made it into the English
Yeah, they're not on our
thing.
radar, are they? They're just not on
Not
our
at all.
radar. And I know you were saying earlier, when we spoke before, that these people, when you go onto like their Instagram and YouTube, like 100,000 followers, and like big names over there, but over here it's like we don't know who they are, and they've got significant value to add to the debate, to the discussion. But it's that because there's that language difference, our algorithms just go, no, we don't know who these people are. We're not going to show these people to you. We're just going to keep showing you Richard Dolan and Gary Nolan and Louis Zondos and all these different people that are in our algorithm. And, as I say, love them to pieces, but there's more out there, a lot of value.
Yeah, I mean, Mercedes Pullman, that's a great example, especially because you've got that kind of behind the Iron Curtain, and she specialized in the cases from Russia and Ukraine. And we've all heard about the sort of nuclear missiles being switched on this side and then switched on in Russia and off on this side. So it's so interesting to see what else has gone on that might parallel things over here and how it's been dealt with, which is kind of touches on the third to the Stars Academy book, which I'm eagerly awaiting. But they were saying how the Russians have had these things appear and they developed a form of sign language to communicate with it, whereas America is just like shoot it down immediately. So, it's going to be really, really interesting to meet people. Plus, I'm hopefully going to learn tons from YouTubers and stuff. There's a guy Ivan Martinez there with 1.6 million followers on YouTube, and he's doing all
Wow.
these paranormal podcasts and stuff like that. So, I'm just very open to whatever it throws at me. It's going to be great
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah. So, what are some of the names then? Let's go through some of the names. I mean, some of them, I know there's a couple that our regular listeners probably will know. Certainly
Yeah.
one that's quite a big name in from Rendlesham. Um, so,
Larry Warren, yeah.
yeah, Larry Warren. So he's an interesting person from the Rendlesham case. Excuse me, American military personnel. Hopefully, fingers crossed, you're going to get an opportunity to speak to him. That's kind of the plan, isn't it? I think.
I hope so.
Hopefully.
Yeah, and I've got kind of thanks to the legendary Aslan who's hooked me up with a laptop. I've got basically a podcast in a bag, and I'm just going to be carrying it around and trying to pull people into corners for 2 days. But yeah, Larry Warren. I mean, he's got an incredible story. It's fair to say that some people have like taken a few shots at what he's got to said, and in a very non-combative way, I'd love to give him a chance to. I'm sure he's told the account of Rendlesham a million times, so I think what I might focus on is just try and meta it a little bit and be like, what would you say in response to your critics, and give us some detail about what it was like as the human experience, rather than just sort of the retelling his story that he's probably going to be doing on the day and
Yeah.
that. But there's loads of fascinating characters. I mean, Sisto Paz Wells, who we've already spoken to, I'm still kind of in shock from the fact that we got to talk to him in the first place. But I think getting a chance to spend some time with him, and kind of the hippie in me is like, oh, what's that going to feel like? Is this going to be cool? And spend a bit more time with the human side of him,
Mm.
rather than just kind of, he's a very
Yeah.
inspirational guy, but
Mm.
it's going to be great. There's spiritualists, there's people from TV. There's a huge show which, in my ignorance, I'd never heard of before, called Quarto Millennium,
Right.
which is enormous in Spain, and it's kind of a X Files, Discovery Channel, the things that we'd know from that. Um, and there's loads of people involved with that are going to be there, so it's going to be really interesting. A bit like when we spoke to Jaime Maussan, that I will hands up say I didn't realize just what an enormous like situation and what a huge thing he's built.
Yeah.
That is because the first time I'd heard of him was from the Nazca mummies. So I think I'm very open to meeting a ton of people from that. And there's ex-military guys, there's sidekicks, experiences, journalists. So I think I'm just going to be introducing myself to as many people as possible, and
Yeah.
anybody that I can do, I'll just drag into a conversation. But I'm
Awesome.
really keen to have that thing that, like Jess was saying, where you don't have to start every conversation with, "Well, this is going to sound crazy, but." It's going to be great to just start on the same page as people and go, "What have you seen?" As
Yeah.
opposed to,
Yeah.
you know,
Justifying yourself. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, justifying like hopefully, hopefully you're interested in this. I'm not going to freak you out by telling you my story or what I believe. It's like, no, we're here because we are on the same wavelength as you, and we want to, we want to learn and we want to experience more. I think it's so important to have these kind of. It's great to do the Zoom, and it's great that we can, it's not just kind of audio like it used to be with the radio back in the day and coast to coast, that sort of stuff. It's great to have the ability to have these kind of conversations face to face, on camera and on audio, which is awesome and connects us across the world. But physically being with somebody, talking to somebody, it's that little added extra, isn't it? That adds that a little bit of magic, I think, in my opinion, and it's something that I'd love to be able to do more. And I wanted to sort of turn this into a proper podcast setup, so every now and again we can get someone to come along and sit down in person, and perhaps me and you can chew
wouldn't
the
that be
fat in
fun?
person, yeah, with a drink on the go, maybe just not too much. I'm not suggesting we get unruly, but yeah, I
Yeah,
think it'll be
yeah.
pretty
Get your,
cool.
your neon sign on the back and the old velvet
Yeah,
curtain and all that, and you'll be on the way there, mate. Yeah.
yeah, like Joe Rogan style, just get to crack out the
Yeah.
Cuban cigars. Yeah, yeah, that'd be cool.
It's funny you say that, because I did my first talk to a group the other day. And, whilst I'm still very new to the whole podcasting and YouTube and thing, that was taking it up another notch, like giving this presentation to a room full of people that I'd got no idea with, and they're making eye contact with me and interrupting with questions and stuff like that. So I think that was a good little warm up for what it's going to be like, just completely winging it in a conference full of people that are interested in this field. But it was definitely a different feeling to being on the other end of a webcam to people. So I'm really excited about it. It's going to be great. And Marta and Joaquin are such great, like passionate people. And I'm really impressed by how they're so lovely and so busy, and they're trying to get this event off the ground. So
Yeah,
I just want to learn as much as I can, basically.
yeah. We had the good fortune of speaking to Joaquin and Marta a few days ago. Obviously, they talked through the event and what their passions are and what they're hoping to get out of the event. And I'll put that up at the end of this podcast in a couple of minutes, so you can hear from them directly. But it was wonderful to talk to them. So we've been talking to Marta quite a bit behind the scenes. She sort of reached out to us originally, said, "Look, we've got this event happening, and it would probably be it's probably something that your viewers would be interested in." And I'm like, absolutely, it's exactly what we're interested in. Context in the desert. I think almost everybody that I say almost every a huge proportion of the people that would watch our content, I guess, would be the sort of people that if we could afford it, if we were close enough, we would go to Contact in the Desert. And this is kind of another much closer for us as well, you know, in the UK to be able to sort of fly out. But this is another one of those events where it's just people coming together, shared experiences, exactly what we're interested in, the content that we scroll through on a daily basis, you know, when we go onto Instagram and YouTube and stuff. So yeah, really cool event. Really cool event. I'm looking forward to seeing Tom Vernon UAP vlogging along the way. I want to see the journey there. I want to see the whole shebang. I want to see falling over in the dust. I want to see cycling, you know, in the middle of nowhere, getting lost. I mean, maybe I'm going a bit
Absolutely.
far here,
I'll
but
be dual wielding selfie sticks the whole
yeah,
event. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
parachuting out of an aeroplane, landing at the contact event.
And then doing a react video to my own stuff. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's gonna be like I don't know what to expect. I'm just taking like good intention and basically a podcast in a
yeah,
backpack and my mum, of course. So and that's one of the fun things about this is there's clairvoyance there, there's people into spiritualism and consciousness, and with me kind of doing this psychics and sources spin-off of the UFO thing, there's bound to be a ton of interesting people that I can be weird with in a corner and get
yeah.
some really good video with. So I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah, it's going to be awesome. And Joyce Vernon going along as well. Awesome.
I
We'll
know,
see you both. Be
I
great.
know. It's
Superb.
gonna be wild. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll be putting out tons of content over the next week or so, I guess, from the event and after the event on both UAP Files Instagram. We'll have some stuff out on YouTube shortly, and again on your own channel there, Tom Vernon UAP. I'll whack that all up on the screen. And what we'll do, I think we'll put our interview in with Joaquin and Marta now, so people can sort of see what they're all about and their plans for the event.
A un bagaje, lógicamente, de las personas que están detrás del proyecto. Y lo que intentamos fundamentalmente es trasladar un mensaje que va más allá de lo que es el fenómeno de las luces.
Okay, all of this obviously has a long history behind it. And what they're trying to do is to communicate that to the people that are present so they realize that there's a hefty timeline behind all of this.
La información es necesaria, que es lo que se va a volcar lógicamente en el Congreso, en ese encuentro, más que un Congreso, es un encuentro. Pero lo fundamental es entender que determinadas civilizaciones, no todas, pero por lo menos con las que la mayoría de los contactados que van a estar en el Congreso de alguna manera trasladan, es que hay un mensaje positivo y esperanzador para nuestra humanidad.
All right. This it's important in the Congress to show that that we have people speaking about this now and they have firsthand experiences, and that from civilizations many eons ago until now, we can see that it's a message of hope and it's not a message of fear that people should be receiving with regards to these contacts.
Y el principal contacto que debemos de tener no es con ellos, sino con nosotros mismos. Con lo cual, una vez que comprendemos e integremos en nuestra sociedad todo eso, el cuidado por nuestros semejantes y por nuestro planeta, avanzaremos hacia lograr lo que ellos como civilizaciones han alcanzado.
So Joaquin feels and says that the main contact we have to have is with ourselves, and that will open up our contact with those around us and above us and facilitate the whole process of progress that we need to accomplish together.
Eso no quiere decir que haya de todo en el universo y que también haya civilizaciones que no confíen en nuestro avance y lógicamente están colaborando para que no lleguemos a ese desarrollo y nos convirtamos en maestros de nuestros maestros por las presiones, las pruebas que tenemos.
Okay, and he also says that we're part of the universe where we're being watched. Those who are watching us are not fully confident in our abilities to progress and to advance. So that means it's very important for us to be able to do so and to unite together in order to make that progress that's necessary.
Son una matización porque muchas veces me han dicho que soy un romántico, ¿no? A modo, no voy a decir despectivo, pero como queriendo restar importancia a estas palabras. Pero yo creo, confío y por ello trabajo de esa manera en que la fuerza más poderosa del universo es el corazón. Cuando hace uno hace las cosas desde el corazón, la apertura hacia otras posibilidades de como seres co-creadores, desde luego van a estar siempre presentes y nos van a llevar por ese camino, hacia una concordia y una futura integración en una, vamos a decir, colectividad de civilizaciones o una integración, una comunidad galáctica. Pero primero tenemos que arreglar las cosas en nuestro planeta. Ellos no nos la van a arreglar. Somos nosotros los que tenemos que arreglarlas.
Okay. Although I've been called a romantic by many, I think things must be done using one's heart as an indicator of where to go and the decisions that need to be made. And following that compass of the heart, we're able to move forward, to work together, and to make correct choices to be part of this galactic union where we can all progress on an intergalactic scale. And that's where we really need to focus at the moment.
Beautiful. So can I just ask, what's the back? I mean, you guys are we've been following the Contact UFO Congress kind of developments, and we've been in communication with you guys for a little while now, and it is fascinating to us. I'm keen to know what's the sort of background, what's Joaquin and Marta's backgrounds, sort of outside of this. Is it a totally different environment, totally different world, or is it sort of linked?
Empezar tú, que siempre voy yo por delante.
Bueno, pues Joaquín y yo nos conocimos de una manera un poco fortuita. Yo llegué a Aranjuez porque siempre hemos vivido allí, mi familia, y abrimos un espacio para despertar de conciencia y yoga, meditación y otro tipo de actividades. Y Joaquín había comenzado un proyecto que se llamaba Amico, que era una asociación de amigos de la nueva conciencia, y empezamos a colaborar juntos para atraer personas que tenían algo que decir y que lo único que nosotros pretendíamos era que la gente escuchara otras cosas, pensara y tomara sus propias conclusiones. Nunca hemos querido convencer a nadie, ¿verdad?
When Marta arrived here in Aranjuez, she had opened up a space to help people raise their conscience, where she was offering different courses and trying to be able to facilitate that. And she came into contact with Joaquin, who had opened up an association called Amico, which is the Friends of Aranjuez. And at that time, he was organizing conferences of like this for the public in Aranjuez. So they just naturally clicked together, and they began working on projects together and coincided in a couple of these events, and just found that they really coincided as far as the ways of thinking and the objectives they had.
Brilliant.
Well,
I find it really interesting how each country seems to have its own narrative and its own history with this, and it's fascinating for me to be visiting Spain and learning more about the Spanish culture and how people are talking about it over there. How would they say it differs from the sort of American and English way of thinking about this?
Le parece interesante que estar en España y cómo se acercan los españoles a este tema. Y le gustaría saber si tenéis alguna opinión de cómo el punto de vista español diferencia de lo que es el punto de vista americano o inglés.
Bueno, pues fundamentalmente por ir al inicio de también la cuestión de por qué de alguna manera estamos en esto, ¿no? Cuando uno va detrás de respuestas y preguntas como puede ser quiénes somos, de dónde venimos, hacia dónde vamos, cuando va en busca del misterio, hay algo superior, Dios, el cosmos, el universo, el todo, que de alguna manera conspira o confabula, y eso que buscas no es que encuentres respuestas, sino que encuentras ese mismo misterio para que te cuestiones otras cosas y al final entiendas que ese contacto es contigo mismo y con tus semejantes, que hay un propósito mayor.
What he was saying was that basically when you ask questions about things and you become to you and those questions lead into more questions that you are trying to answer. And that's really the foundation of this. He had some fundamental questions that he began to ask himself, began investigating, and through that research, more questions, and now this conference has come up. But because I know Joaquin, and I know he's just such a wonderful man and has such a wonderful history, I was really waiting for him to talk about that.
Yeah.
So Joaquin, can you go ahead and tell us about your lovely background? Cuéntanos sobre tu historia, que es muy bonito. Eres un filántropo. He's a philanthropist. He really is, you know.
Bueno, yo lógicamente vengo de una familia que se dedicaba al ámbito de la restauración, al ámbito del restaurante, hostelería,
Mhm.
y yo veía que mi trabajo no terminaba de llenar mi alma. Había algo que de alguna manera la parte creativa, la parte de conexión, la parte humana, me faltaba, ¿no? Yo estaba muy a gusto en mi trabajo, pero yo buscaba todo eso.
He comes from a long tradition of a family of having restaurants here in Aranjuez. And although he really enjoys his work, he felt like it wasn't really feeling his spirit and giving him the kind of satisfaction he needed on that level, which is why he got interested in these topics and started creating spaces for this to be able to be talked about and discussed.
Y empecé a organizar actividades, aparte de lo que es el ámbito de la restauración, o sea, el ámbito de la hostelería, para escritores, pintores, artistas, y de alguna manera ayudarles, sobre todo el ámbito de los artistas o creadores en nuestra localidad o limítrofes, para darles voz, para ayudarles a que llegara la gente, para poner en valor su trabajo.
So he started organizing conferences and spaces where artists, writers, and other creative people could be heard. And they were able to have a voice and have other people listen to them, which has enriched so much the town and the people that live here, with him being so brave doing this. That's my own addition, I have to say.
Eso me llevó también a contactar o a conectar con personas del ámbito más espiritual o de crecimiento, ¿no? Personal. Y contacté con un querido ya amigo y hermano, le considero, que era Ricardo, pues Ricardo González Corpancho, un escritor, un investigador y un contactado que a nivel internacional, sobre todo en el habla en Latinoamérica, y está aquí también, lógicamente en España, es bastante reconocido.
This brought him in contact with Ricardo González Sompancha, and who is internationally renowned as a writer, and they began working together on these types of conferences.
Y coincidió que él iba a venir a España, o sea, contacté con él, coincidió que iba a venir a España, yo quería conocerle, quería organizar una actividad solidaria para él, a beneficio de una ONG o fundación de aquí de Aranjuez, pero que tuviera que ver con el ámbito del misterio. Y ese viaje que me llevó a Málaga, concretamente al centro Sananda, otro centro también parecido al de Marta, de Toñi Romero, una queridísima amiga, fue un viaje iniciático en el que pasaron muchísimas cosas y fue un punto de inflexión en lo que es mi vida.
Right. So this brought him to, basically, because he was going to travel here, they began to organize a conference in Aranjuez, which also took him to Malaga, to another center, which is very much like Marta's, that does different. And the name of that, what was it, Joaquin? It was Tony.
Sananda, que es con el
Ananda?
Jesús, Sananda.
Right. Right. Good. Ananda, where and he began an initiatic type voyage with all of this to that first conference that they organized here.
Se empezaron a producir determinadas cosas, no solo en mi ámbito, sino en el ámbito familiar, con mi mujer, con mis hijos, porque yo creo que todo esto, por eso tenemos ese mensaje esperanzador hacia lo que es la humanidad. Por eso intentamos promover estos contactados que están en contacto con esas otras civilizaciones que aportan ese mensaje positivo. Porque en nuestro hogar, nuestra casa, se producían cosas. Yo creo que desde el corazón, con ese amor de familia, se producía como un rasgo entre lo que es el espacio-tiempo, ¿no? Se abría un portal y había entidades interdimensionales, los llamados orbs, que aparecían en casa, que de alguna manera eran fotografiados, que los podíamos grabar, porque lógicamente uno dice, me estoy volviendo loco, ¿esto es real o no? Interactuaban, les decías que se pusieran en la mano, aparecían en la mano, veías que tenían caras, podías grabarles en vídeo. Todo eso fue un despertar, es decir, ese primer inicio, aparte del viaje para conocer a Ricardo González, fue un inicio y la parte espiritual tuvo mucho que ver con todo esto.
After that first conference with Ricardo Gonzalez, things started to happen at their home that were unexpected, not only for him, but also for his family, for his children, and for his wife as well. And he thinks that these incidents have started because there's just so much love in their family and they care about each other so much. And what had happened? Well, orbs began to appear. Orbs that you could touch, orbs that you could photograph, and orbs that you could speak with. And this was happening for all of the members of the family. And he believes that having done the conference and made the trip and been in contact with Ricardo had opened that door for this to begin happening.
Pero hemos tenido y además en familia experiencias con estos seres interdimensionales, con seres extraterrestres, cuando hemos estado en estos encuentros con Sixto Paz Wells, con Luis Fernando Mostajo Martens, con Ricardo González Corpancho, con Julia Farias, con Nando Gómez, con Carlos Herrero, con tantas personas que quizá no todos son tan conocidos en el ámbito anglosajón, pero que de alguna manera se han sentido esas experiencias. Y uno se ha dado cuenta de que depende que esa conexión sea más cercana o no, va a depender mucho de cómo estemos, de nuestra frecuencia, nuestra vibración. Todo eso va a hacer que se acerquen más o menos hacia nosotros, incluso se produzcan lo que se llaman, esto ya es más complejo, sendras, que son espacios creados artificialmente por ellos para que haya una conexión directa con ellos.
So after this encounter and having more conferences where he was in contact with Sixto Paz Wells,
Sixto Paz Wells, Luis Fernando Mostajo Martens, Carlos Herrero, varios.
I'm gonna have to write down the names here in the future. Okay, right, have all of them there. But basically, what this led to was the fact that there was more and more of these experiences that were happening, and more interesting things like spaces that were being created where they could actually meet up and have encounters together with these extraterrestrial creatures that they were in contact with.
Pero también nos ha mostrado que hay una parte que es positiva y hay otra parte que no es tan positiva.
So he's found that there's a part that's positive, but another part that's not as positive, which is?
Por ejemplo, en uno de los encuentros que tuvimos en Bolivia con Luis Fernando Mostajo Mertens, estábamos en una zona muy especial, cerca del Salar de Uyuni, y hicimos una meditación para pues crear las condiciones para una posible comunicación con ellos, ¿no? Y en ese momento, por lo que sea, a mí las imágenes que me venían no eran nada positivas, incluso era como un ataque psíquico, unas imágenes como muy diabólicas, muy que daban miedo.
Okay, so one of the things that was negative was when they're in Bolivia, they had set up to have a contact with Luis Fernando Mostazo. And what was the lake, Joaquin? Where were you exactly?
Es en el Salar de Uyuni.
Salar de Uyuni. And what happened was that instead of having positive feelings, he felt that there was a psychic attack that was being launched on him during that. There were really negative images that were coming into his brain, and they're very diabolic as well. So that worried him.
Ahí comprendí que para cuando uno apertura esos portales o ese posible encuentro con esos otros seres, tiene que estar en una frecuencia alta, porque hay de todo en el universo. Y así como tú estés, así tú vas a atraer. Entonces hay que ser muy cuidadoso y muy serio con todo esto. Por eso nosotros intentamos siempre que la vibración sea alta, que haya una intención y una voluntad muy positiva para que cuando abres ese portal de conexión, lo que se acerque a ti sea positivo.
He understood through this experience that when you open a portal to another dimension or to other beings, that it's very important to be on a high frequency, because when you're on lower frequencies, what happens is you attract beings that have denser frequencies and consequently are much more negative. So one must take this very seriously and make sure that they're in a higher frequency in order to connect with higher frequency beings. Otherwise, the experience is not going to be as positive as one expected. So, and what we want to achieve is that it's a growing experience, shall we say, as opposed to a negative one.
A lo largo de muchos años he podido estar en presencia de, lógicamente, estas personas que se dedican al ámbito del contactismo, con la información que dan, con las pautas, y he experimentado infinidad de cosas y hemos tenido infinidad de experiencias. Hemos visto naves nodrizas de hasta 120 metros de largo sobre nuestras cabezas, naves que ellos dicen Pleiadian, una civilización bastante cerca, interacción con nosotros, como cuando estábamos con los ojos cerrados en meditación, cómo nos movían para colocarnos bien, y tú mirabas alrededor, sentías presencia, pero no había nada. Es decir, es un fenómeno interdimensional que tiene que ver pues, con unas civilizaciones o unos seres que tienen conciencia de ese, o sea, se pueden mover o transitar e interactuar en esos planos dimensionales que todavía nosotros no tenemos conciencia, aunque poco a poco la vamos despertando.
Physically, this experience has allowed him to see on a physical level ships with different nodes and that have been enormous, hundreds of meters of length. And in addition to that, when doing meditations or trying to connect, that he's actually felt these beings moving him, positioning him, his forehead and other places, in order to position correctly to receive information. And when they've opened their eyes to look around, because they actually felt someone touch them, they could see nobody. So he feels these beings are very advanced, that they're able to move and to move energy in that fashion without having to be physically seen or present.
Y no hace falta irse a lugares lejanos a tener una experiencia. O sea, en tu propia casa, en tu hogar, yo he tenido que vio mi mujer, que estaba mirando yo en la librería buscando unos libros, tuve una canepla, una especie de dron que ellos utilizan su tecnología, sobre mi cabeza, al lado de la cabeza, era metálica, como oscura, evolucionando al lado mío. Claro, ella intentó identificar si se trataba de un orbs, pero se dio cuenta de que era algo metálico, era como un dron. Es decir, lo que decía en un principio, cuando uno busca el misterio, busca preguntas, ellos te encuentran. Hay un seguimiento, pero para bien.
Okay. What he says is that you don't have to go to other countries and you don't have to go far to have these experiences, that you can have them right there in your home. Point in case was that he was having dinner with his wife and she saw that there was this type of materialization of an object next to his head. And she was trying to determine whether it was an orb or what it was. And she could clearly see as it materialized that it was metallic, that it was not an orb. And he feels that, and basically that was a contact, or they're keeping in contact with him in that fashion. And that definitely when you start asking questions, afterwards, these kind of things come to you to be able to manifest themselves once you actually have the question itself. And they're in contact with you to give you the answers.
Entonces, en nuestra vida, el cómo lo integramos, intentamos que esté en equilibrio, que no te descompense, porque hay que seguir pagando impuestos, trabajando y tener las relaciones, ¿no?, con nuestros semejantes. Entonces intentamos que todo esto lo que nos ayude es a ser mejores personas, mejores padres de familia, mejor pareja, mejor vecino, mejor ciudadano. Ese es un poco lo que nosotros percibimos e integramos en nuestro día a día. O sea, hay que saber conjugar lo cotidiano con lo especial o mágico. Ese es un poco el reto de nuestra humanidad, porque no es solo lo mágico, sino todo lo que se está produciendo con guerras, la situación geopolítica, social, económica, todo eso son pruebas. Y si uno es consciente de lo que es, va a saber, de alguna manera, manejarse mejor. Por eso el Congreso lo hemos pensado, una línea argumental tiene un propósito. Y es que no es que la gente crea, sino que piense, se cuestione y de alguna manera encuentre respuestas para poderse manejar mejor en su día a día. Y eso viene de mano de los expertos en el ámbito de investigación, de los contactados, del propósito diario, o sea, qué se pretende a través de investigaciones, qué es lo que pasa día a día, cómo está afectando eso a nuestra sociedad, y luego los creadores de contenido, cómo están trasladando esa información a través de los youtubers, a través de redes sociales, etcétera, etcétera.
Okay, so really, in everyday life, we all have our responsibilities. We have to make ends meet. We have to pay taxes. We have our own jobs. So really, this is something. This conference and all the work that's been put into it is something that makes us better people. It's something that's done as a gift in free time in order to make the world a better place and to have us have better interaction amongst ourselves as humans. So the aim of the conference is to help people to know how they can better prepare themselves, what they can do in order to be able to answer those questions, and what and how they can actually prepare themselves and interact on a better level with everyday problems that we come up with, like when you look at the wars that are happening in the Middle East at the moment and how we respond to those and how YouTubers respond to those and the type of dialogue that is created regarding that. So consequently, this is giving basically information about how we can use the information that we're receiving in order to do our job better here on Earth.
De hecho, nosotros consideramos importante este tipo de actividades porque se mueven muchas cosas en estos encuentros. Pues un congreso, nosotros le hemos llamado congreso porque lógicamente tiene que tener una denominación, pero es un encuentro de personas que tienen un mismo interés y de alguna manera se produce, tienes a personas en el escenario que están trayendo información muy importante, son gente con mucho bagaje, con mucha experiencia, pero también entre el público hay personas que quizás su rol no sea eso, no se dediquen a estar divulgando, pero en petit comité o en grupitos de amigos trasladan la información que tienen y sus propias experiencias y cómo les ha cambiado la vida. Y vuelvo a repetir que no todas las civilizaciones que nos asisten o que nos visitan o que están aquí ya tienen las mismas intenciones. Tenemos que ser ejemplo para ellos. Es decir, ellos habrán tenido alguna solución en su civilización para avanzar. Eso no quiere decir que su solución sea la nuestra. Tenemos que encontrar nuestro propio camino y tenemos que mostrárselo. Pero tenemos que ser capaces de creérnoslo y co-crear para crear esa realidad. Eso es un poco el mensaje. La importancia de asistir a este tipo de encuentros, porque al final se generan grupos de personas que accionan en conciencia en una determinada dirección, que es el que existo mañana.
This conference, it's kind of, the name of it is a conference, but really it's a meeting of people together. So not always the person that's speaking has the role of teaching other people and the others are listening. There's a lot of people in the public can then have the role of sharing very important information as well. And the people who speak in the conference might give information about other civilizations and how they've been able to solve problems they've had in their cultures and civilizations. But it's important to remember, just because they've solved it that way, it's not necessarily our solution for our civilization here on Earth. So we can take that into account, but we can also develop our own solutions and that are best for us. It doesn't mean that their solutions are the best ones for us, shall we say. Consequently, we need to keep that in mind. And as a collective group, humanity needs to decide where we want to move and how we want to move ahead in order to solve our problems, taking into account other possibilities, but definitely deciding as a group how we want to move ahead.
I was just going to say that's very interesting. I saw a quote from Grant Cameron, who's a White House correspondent and a good investigator on this. And he said that in America and UK, we're always trying to find the answer. And he said, and we're not supposed to find the answer. It's about to keep on looking. And then we grow and that's the point of it. It's not about ticking it off and saying, right, well, that's finished. We've solved the mystery and we're done now. It's more about continually improving ourselves. That's very interesting. And also, so we had the honor to speak to Sisto Paswells, and he said a very similar thing, that for people that are trying to make contact, rather than that, to just work on themselves, and then they'll make contact with you. So it was fascinating. So what message would you give for people that are going to come and visit the conference then? What do you want them to take away from it?
Es muy interesante que lo que comentas, porque como dijo un corresponsal en los Estados Unidos, que tenemos tendencia a buscar la solución y luego poder decir, bueno, ya la hemos resuelto, en vez de realmente decir, uy, qué interesante, y seguir haciendo preguntas, como sugieras tú. Y que también Sixto Pascual le había comentado lo que es en contacto y que vengan más preguntas después. Entonces, le gustaría saber cuál es el resumen en sí que darías a los que van a asistir a la conferencia. ¿Qué mensaje le quieres transmitir?
Pues fundamentalmente que para conocer lo que hay detrás de este fenómeno de las luces, tienes que primero poner en valor o obtener información por los principales investigadores a nivel internacional. En este caso, lógicamente en España hemos intentado del habla hispana, aunque por ejemplo hay también militares o exmilitares, como en este caso Larry Warren, que viene a contar lo que es su caso y sus experiencias, investigaciones y demás. O viene también Marc Bedmont, de aquí de Francia, que también le cambió la vida para bien todas estas experiencias, ¿no? Pero vuelvo a decir que es que en esta información que se vuelca, porque la cuestión de ufológica no tiene que ver con cuestiones de creencias, sino con cuestión de información. Primero hay que sacar la información y tiene que venir de personajes o personas que llevan una vida dedicada a sacar o a investigar en ese sentido. Pero también hay que estar el ámbito de los contactados. Tiene que haber personas que vengan a contar cuál ha sido su experiencia, cuál es la información que le trasladan, cuáles son las herramientas que le han dado para que trasladen a lo que es la sociedad, y información también relativa a cómo son sus sociedades, para que tengamos algún ejemplo. Pero no olvidemos que también hay conatos a lo largo y ancho de nuestro planeta de pequeños grupos que intentan buscar alternativas a lo que es el sistema. Creo que tenemos que ir viendo y buscando ese camino, ¿no? De nuevas formas disruptivas frente al sistema que teníamos hasta ahora o que tenemos hasta ahora, porque no es sostenible. Hay que buscar nuevas fórmulas, ¿no? Y luego, lógicamente, poner en el contexto, como hay una ocultación desde hace más de 90 años de esta realidad, que está desde que el hombre es hombre, o está sobre la faz de la Tierra, incluso antes podrían estar aquí. Ver qué sentido tiene todo eso. Y luego las personas que se dedican a generar contenido y trasladar esa información, que son los youtubers o son los, pues eso, creadores de contenido, cómo lo trasladan y cuál es su opinión también. Porque no olvidemos que cada creador de contenido lo hace un poco no solo con la idea de agradar a determinadas personas, ¿no? De alimentar lo que quieren esas personas, sino también que le dan un toque, es una interpretación. ¿Cuál es el enfoque que ellos le dan? Entonces también hemos hecho un poco de filtro en ese sentido de qué tipo de personas son las que van a estar. También hay otras que son un poco más disruptivas con el resto, ¿no? Los raelianos, pero yo creo que hay que mostrar todo y luego cada uno que piense cómo le puede aportar y que entienda todo esto. Que hay gente que lleva toda una vida investigando, se queda con las luces y no se da cuenta de lo que hay detrás, del mensaje, por lo menos de estas civilizaciones a las que nosotros intentamos también dar voz. Pero por encima de todo tiene que estar la voz del ser humano. Somos nosotros los que tenemos que marcar, repito, nuestro destino. Esto nos debe de ayudar para comprender que somos más de lo que creemos ser y que hay otras civilizaciones que han alcanzado su meta por otro caminar, pero se supone que se han estancado. Y nosotros, como en un planeta escuela, estamos intentando dar solución a los problemas que en algún momento ellos les ha hecho que se estancaran evolutivamente. Somos una oportunidad para ellos, para que ellos evolucionen, pero también es una oportunidad para nosotros este momento para que evolucionemos, para que sobrevivamos, para que nos integremos a esa comunidad. Perdona por haberme extendido. Perdona.
Me estás poniendo a prueba.
Sí,
You're
perdona,
testing me. Oh my good. So basically the main things that people that should go to the conference should keep in mind are to first basically document their information and listen to the people that are sharing with them this really valuable information that they have to share. And they're specialists in the field that have dedicated many years to this. Also, there'll be people at the conference that have been contacted, and those testimonials are fundamental in order to be able to really believe what has happened and to ask questions. So, and those people they might have just had one-off experiences, or they might have more experience with it, but they're definitely, there are two different roles there. And in addition to that people really need to kind of prepare themselves and think about how they can interact and basically see what they can take away from it to use in their everyday life. In addition to that, there will be people there that are journalists or YouTubers, and those that are coming to the conference. It's important that they retransmit the information, giving it their own touch, of course, so we can share this information and make it known to people in a valuable fashion that will be useful to other people. So summing up, really, we need to take away is that the Earth it's a global school. It's a school where we're not only learning, but we are also teaching as well other civilizations, which we always think that we're behind, but in fact, that's not the case. We actually have a lot to offer with our solutions that we've had up until now to other civilizations. So consequently, we need to learn from others, filter that information, and also offer the best of ourselves for other civilizations that might be out there watching us.
Superb. Well, look, we really appreciate it. And we obviously we're going to be covering it. I'm going to be there in spirit. Tom's going to be there in person. So we're really looking forward to covering it and hearing more about it. Thank you so much for talking to us, and we really look forward to watching it sort of develop and seeing what comes out of it. It sounds really positive. For people listening to come and find you, it's contactcongress.es. Is that right? www.contactcongress.es.
That's correct. Right.
Superb. Awesome. Fantastic. Well, absolute pleasure. Thanks so much, guys. Take care, and we'll speak again soon.
Okay. Wonderful. Thank you very much.
Muchísimas gracias.
Can't wait to meet you all. Thank you.
Right. It's been a
Estamos en
pleasure.
contacto.